Nowhere in Nigeria currently is safe. The East is there on its own. Fear is felt at every checkpoint on the police and the military angle. And the whole idea of the freeze of unknown gunmen, it now carries both mystery and dread. What is unknown gunmen? These are people we should be able to pinpoint and figure out. Civilians are caught in the crossfire between, armed groups and security forces, and it's not funny. Whether you're agitating for Nnamdi Kanu or not, it's not funny the way things are going. You cannot be killing your brothers and sisters and lay claim to the fact that you're a revolutionary. A revolutionary, as Chair would get to say, as Chair will get to tell us, a revolutionary, the first thing a revolutionary does is to be educated. This is a Chair's diary, by the way. It's written in Spanish, and my Spanish is not that good, but it's fair enough to take me through basic readings and the likes of that. So you see someone like Chair, and you come to tell yourself that it takes creativity and it takes education to make you a revolutionary. You cannot just become a revolutionary off the backdrop of your empty head and the likes of that. No, you have to be serious. You have to take life serious. You have to be dedicated to the things you do. And it doesn't need force. It doesn't need you to be brutish. And even when it needs you to even take arms, you have to take arms against the right people, not killing your people. And I think it's a thing in the East we should be able to tell ourselves and come to accept that in the East we have been killing ourselves by our own selves, and yet we don't want to give that particular label. We are so scared of labeling ourselves as killers of our own brothers and sisters, and we don't want to point it out. It's a thing we must talk about. It's a thing we must talk about, because a simple journey, to the next town feels like gambling with fate. You can just want to live on poor and head to a different path, and then you find yourself in trouble. Remember when Odysseus was asked, "What is your name?" by the one-eyed Cyclops? He said, "My name is Norman." And when Odysseus attempted to kill the Cyclops and blinded the Cyclops, he said, "Norman is killing me. Norman is killing me. Norman is killing me." And who dares come to save somebody nobody is killing? Because nobody comes. That is the point. We have to start naming our problems to know what is wrong with us to even start with it. No man is killing me. No man is killing me. Security is killing us. Mentioning it is not doing your government a disfavor. It is pointing out the reality of our lives. I am Biringkpa, Mecca. See you next time. Nigeria is not safe, and let us not even start by trying to lie to ourselves and call others who try to point out this truth as though we are gaslighting. This is the truth. I am not here to sound an alarm that you don't know about. I am not here to give you exaggerations you at the moment don't know about. Save for those who don't have the Nigerian experience within the limit of their existence and all that. This is the reality that millions of Nigerians like you, get to live with and by every day. Fear has become, part of our ordinary life, on the roads, in the markets, in the schools, in homes that should, be private and very, very secure. We have come to see this. The collapse is very, very visible in different fronts. And the most basic of, government's duty, the protection of life. We've seen that also fail our people and fail us. Once people used to measure their lives by opportunity, by what they could build, by what they could hope for. Now life is measured by survival and survival alone. The question is no longer, where can I go to thrive? How can I travel to go to other places? The question now is, will I return home alive today if I go out? You get to see that mindset, and the change of that mindset tells us everything. It tells us how far, the nation has fallen, how far things have gone scattered. Because, even if you look at things like education, when education gets to fail us, the family improvises that particular angle. When healthcare gets to fail to a large extent, people search for alternatives and search for ways to try to be alive. But when security fails, nothing else can stand. I don't know what else will happen, because without safety there is no economy, there will be no school, there will be no sense of worship, there will be no sense of community. And by and large, there will be no future, because security is the ground on which every other part of national life gets to rest on. Even the so-called idea of investors we keep talking about and we keep bringing, and we keep lambasting ourselves about here and there, and that we want to bring foreign investors, want to bring foreign investors. How are they even going to come and invest in a place that is so unstable as our communities at the moment? Kidnapping is on the rise. I know there have always been robbery and all that, but these are things we can fix. And then you hear the former chief of army staff just let his name be there, and he talks about shutting down the entire country, granting a lockdown to fix insecurity. What that would mean is out of proportion. I can't even think about it now, but mundane ways of solving modern day problem. Old errors, new names. That is what we have down here. That is what we have down here. That's what we have on ground, and that ground indeed is broken. It's broken. It's been shattered. It's been confused, and it has left us to be a nation of fear. Because to live in Nigeria today is to live in that constant state of unease. Fear has woven itself into the ordinary routines of our life. It has come to the point where it shapes the decisions we get to make in ways many of us no longer even want to even start questioning. Parents get to warn their children, do not travel after dark, do not travel with so and so bus, do not follow so and so road. Drivers carry 2, 3, 4, 5 lives, two phones, one hidden somewhere, just in case, they get stopped. One, can be given to the armed men, and the other can preserve their contacts and the likes of that. And it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for saying how families say prayers before birth, not only for blessings and a couple of other things like that, but for protection. And I'm not saying those who get to have a thing to do with religion, a thing to do with worship and faith shouldn't go on. But the sense of protection it's against very, very basic things, against the possibility of attack in our space, in the night, in the day, in broad daylight. Kidnappings go on, and this fear is not abstract. This fear is something we live by. It is a daily atmosphere in which Nigerians get to move now. It is there on the road. You get to see it down there. Where kidnappers have turned highways into hunting grounds, and hunting grounds for things I don't even get to understand. It is present in our schools, where parents live with anxiety as to whether their children are safe in boarding schools and the likes of that, about whether that child may not come back home, and those type of questions we get to ask, or whether their children would find themselves in serious harm and stuff like that. It sits in churches and mosques, and we see all of this, and we talk about it, but we whisper. We are like the English. We talk about the weather. We talk about the fact that the sun has come out. As though we are in Romania, or as though we are in Lithuania, or as though we are in Czech, or as though we are in Poland. We want the sun to come out. We want the sun to come out, and when it comes out, sometimes we complain and the likes of that. But deep down, we just go as though we can manage. We can manage. In churches, the faithful go down there to pray to God. They go down there to worship. They go down there to give reverence to God. But nowadays, people even pray and die in the most unexpected of places, in churches, in mosques. How many days ago did we get to receive the news that more than 100 persons were killed in the north. And it is very, very alarming. More than 50,000 persons, as report has shown recently, Christians for that matter, just Christians alone, have died since 2009 up until now. And about 50 million, as the report claims, have been displaced from their place of living. David Hunde has even gone forward to even give us a documentary, conflicts with jihad and a whole lot of other conversations down there. El-Rufai's complicity in the whole stuff and the whole activities that gone down there. And, we do as if we don't see. We one eye we keep it open, and then the other one we keep it closed. And what makes this fear, get even heavier is the sense of abandonment that comes with it from the government and a whole lot of other. Because we as citizens, we know if trouble comes today, if trouble comes today, we're on our own. The police may not answer. What arms are they even going to answer with? And if they even get to even do, their arrival may bring, more questions than help. They might come a very, very long period later. And this erosion of trust has created a culture of silence. It has created something for Nigerians, and Nigerians have, adapted to this insecurity by, normalizing it. We now pass on survival codes to one another, and the way other societies get to share recipes or songs or this type of conversations. But fear is not meant to be normal. Nobody should be that afraid in their life. But what do you expect when insecurity becomes ordinary? It gets to erode trust, and it weakens the bonds that hold communities together. And this type of conversation, a nation where fear is ordinary, do a whole lot of things. It cannot be a healthy society. Life is reduced to survival, and that doesn't make sense. The energy meant for building the future is put into a different place. It is consumed by the daily struggle to stay alive, from soldiers to policemen to the normal citizens of the country. This is what insecurity has done to us. It has turned citizens into survivors. It has forced a nation into a permanent crouch, always waiting, always cautious, never free, never moving, never determined to do good, just holding on and marching on there. And it leaves me thinking about a lot of things, and we have to talk about these things. We have to have these conversations, And the geography of this violence also is not something that is born out of a particular region, because insecurity in Nigeria does not belong to a particular region, as many persons want to claim. It is not a northern problem, neither is it a southern problem. It is not a thing limited, to a particular tribe or a particular region or a particular religion. It is everywhere. We've come to see it everywhere. It spreads across the map like a shadow. The north is on their own. The south have to fend for themselves. The east, the west, and all of this. Take for instance in the north, communities live under the terror of banditry and insurgency. A thing I want to even pause down here to even talk about deeply and extensively. Can we just stop calling these people bandits? Can we stop calling them bandits and call them what they are? Can we call them by their real names? I think that is where we have to start. Can we start calling them terrorists? Can we stop talking about unknown gunmen in the east as unknown gunmen? Can we label them? If they are insurgents, can we call them insurgents? If they are terrorists, can we call them terrorists? If they are those who want to usurp power, can we say these people want to usurp power and they should be stopped? Why can't we just do the things we're supposed to do, and how we're supposed to do them, and how we're supposed to call their names? Why do we have to wait and 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 wait until it's too late? Villages are attacked. In the night, in the day, homes are burned, people are killed, families scattered left, right, center, in the bush, into different places. Children are taken from schools in their hundreds. We've had a whole lot of other situations down there. Hostels that should be a place for safety and studies have become their targets. And kidnapping for ransom has also become its own economy, and we get to see it. The Abuja Kaduna train attack proved the point, and a lot of other things also. Even modern transport routes are no longer safe because we are not looking at these things. And somebody will say, it's just in the north now. But what about in the south? Highways have become, hunting grounds. I remember one of those incidents many years ago. Gunmen get to stop buses, drag passengers into the forest and demand a ransom before life can continue. And many times life don't even get to continue. Markets are disturbed by court clashes here and there. Armed robbery adds to the chaos, and even worship centers and places of this worship are not spared. The Owo church massacre, it still lingers here with us. A reminder that nowhere is secret. Nowhere in Nigeria currently is safe. The East is there on its own. Fear is felt at every checkpoint on the police and the military angle. And the whole idea of the freeze of unknown gunmen, it now carries both mystery and dread. What is unknown gunmen? These are people we should be able to pinpoint and figure out. Civilians are caught in the crossfire between, armed groups and security forces, and it's not funny. Whether you are agitating for Nnamdi Kanu or not, it's not funny the way things are going. You cannot be killing your brothers and sisters and lay claim to the fact that you're a revolutionary. A revolutionary, as Chair would get to say, as Chair would get to tell us, a revolutionary, the first thing a revolutionary does is to be educated. This is Chair's diary, by the way. It's written in Spanish, and my Spanish is not that good, but it's fair enough to take me through basic readings and the likes of that. So this you see someone like Chair, and you come to tell yourself that it takes creativity and it takes education to make you a revolutionary. You cannot just become a revolutionary off the backdrop of your empty head and the likes of that. No, you have to be serious. You have to take life serious. You have to be dedicated to the things you do. And it doesn't need force. It doesn't need you to be brutish. And even when it needs you to even take arms, you have to take arms against the right people, not killing your people. And I think it's a thing in the East we should be able to tell ourselves and come to accept that in the East we have been killing ourselves by our own selves, and yet we don't want to give that particular label. We are so scared of labeling ourselves as killers of our own brothers and sisters, and we don't want to point it out. It's a thing we must talk about. It's a thing we must talk about, because a simple journey, to the next town feels like gambling with fate. You can just want to live on poor and head to a different path, and then you find yourself in trouble. The West, on their own side, they are equally there. The glow of urban life does not hide insecurity. Lagos, Ibadan, Abeokuta, other urban centers and the likes of that, armed robbery still goes on. It persists amongst us. Ritual killings get to appear in the news. Urban progress on all fronts does not mean urban safety. Violence is in Nigeria. I don't know how else to say it. It is not regional. Whether you're looking at it from Sokoto, or you're looking at it from Lagos, or you're looking at it from Enugu, you're looking at it from Port Harcourt, or you're looking at it from Abakaliki to Ogoja, the pattern is the same. Insecurity follows Nigerians like a shadow. It has erased the idea that safety can be found by simply moving from one part of the country to the other. It is a shame we all need to come to talk about. It's a shame on a whole lot of things. It's a shame on our individuality. It's a shame on our collective sense of responsibility. It's a shame on many fronts. That sense of failure, the failure of leadership, is a shame we all have to come to carry with us now into the future. It's a shame we've not even been ready to look at. I don't like coming and sounding frustrated, but people are dying. People are really, really dying. The number is alarming. The number of people that die in Nigeria is alarming. And it's a shame on many fronts. It's a shame on you, it's a shame on me, it's a shame on we as a collective. It's a shame that we've not been able to fix these simple problems. Now, that failure of leadership rubs on every other thing. Education, lack of empowerment, lack of job creation, lack of vision for the future, lack of thinking for the populace, lack of thinking for your citizens. Else, why do you want to be elected? Why do you ask to be elected if you cannot fix basic things? Come on, our leaders. And we too, we are very, very bad followers. Very bad. Failure of leadership, it's a thing we must come to look at. I don't know how else to say it, because the first duty of government is to protect life. It's that basic. To protect life. Without safety, every other promise, gets to collapse. Road means nothing. The roads we don't even have. If people are killed on them, these roads will mean nothing. They mean nothing. Schools mean nothing. Schools mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. If children are abducted from them, churches and mosques mean nothing. If worshippers cannot pray in peace, it means nothing. I say it means nothing. In Nigeria today, that basic duty has failed. It is not that Nigeria, has no security forces. So they are soldiers. They are soldiers. They are policemen and women, good and bad. They are even paramilitary agencies. They are checkpoints here and there that we don't even need. They are patrols. They are named operation, Python dance that killed many persons, different stuff. And yet insecurity grows. Why? Because leadership has chosen politics over responsibility. Because leaders prefer to give good speeches, than to take actions. Because they call for patience, they blame unknown gunmen, they blame bandits. And they insist the situation is under control. It's under control, and people die in Benue State. People are buried, in their numbers. Corruption deepens the crisis, and funds, allocated for security gets to disappear. Weapons do not reach the front lines. Officers are sent into danger without proper support. We see the videos out there. The police are underpaid. They are under-equipped and distrusted, by the very people they are meant to serve. Meanwhile, those in power, they get to move around in convoys and they take all the security they need, surrounded by escorts they don't even deserve, sheltered in fortified estates and bulletproof cars and the likes of that. But the ordinary Nigerian, security has always been a private burden. You pay for guards, you paid for your gate man, you build fences, you build high ones at that matter. You wire your walls with, barbed metals, you pray. Particularly, you pray. You pay twice. One, you are being taxed by the government, and the government even fails to use your tax well. Again, from your own pocket again to still survive. How do we live this kind of life? And perhaps the most damaging of all of this is the silence of leadership. Each time an attack is minimized, each time the fears of citizens are dismissed, a message is sent here and there. Your life is negotiated. Your happiness is this. And once a government tells its people that their lives are negotiated, trust begins to die. How do you negotiate people's life? How do you negotiate people's life? How do you do this thing? It's as simple as the first thing to be able to do. Remember the days of ECOMOC. Remember the days of the different peacekeepings that happened. My uncle was in Liberia. Remember all of these periods. Remember Chimamanda's story. Remember Fide going to represent Nigeria abroad. Remember the days of glory. I don't want to join those ranks of people who get to talk about, the past days of Nigeria is better than the present day of Nigeria. But to a large extent, come on, you want to believe them. You want to believe them. You want to believe that these people are saying the truth. You want to believe that these people are saying this thing this way. And I don't blame them. I don't blame you also. I don't blame anybody. And as trust gets to die, the bond between the citizen and the state collapses. It collapses if it has already done so in the past. And when that bond collapses, and when everything goes down, the nation, itself begins to fall. It begins to fall apart. But then, behind every headline about violence in the country is something we are not even looking at. The families that get to lose their family members, the ones that get to go broken, the ones that get to go shattered, the ones that even get to be completely wiped out and broken. It is not only numbers, so that's one thing I want you to remember. What happens in Nigeria is not just numbers. There are names attached to these numbers that you see on the screen. 200 people killed, 500 people killed. Can you just sit down and tell yourself for once that the report is saying over 50 million Christians have been displaced since 2009 in Nigeria, and over 500,000 have been killed since 2009. And we're still fine. We are still good. We are still smiling and saying everything is all fine. Since when did we become this comfortable? Since when did we get comfortable with the names that get to pass and the ways they get to pass? These are names of people. These are names. They have faces. It is their future that have been cut short. They are this future. Think of the Abuja Kaduna train attack. Hundreds of passengers, they just went that way. They were expecting to get a normal journey back home. And the funniest part of it, and the most annoying part of it, that trip ended in gunfire. It ended in explosions. It ended in chaos. Family waited through nights of silence and a whole lot of other things. And when this lady even posted on Twitter then, now X, people were asking how you were shot and you still have the strength to type. And they were mocking her and she died. This was a lady ready to take up her life abroad and start a fresh life abroad. But her story and her life was cut short by the fact that, she was a Nigerian on a Nigerian train heading to a Nigerian city. And it's strange. It's strange that all of a sudden you start talking to strangers, wanting and deserving ransoms from you. Others never even get to even hear from anybody. They just get to be killed. And even religious leaders get to pay ransoms to stay alive. We had the case of the other prelate who paid just to keep his life safe and keep it safe well. Many other persons have done that. And so for him, it looked as though ransom became prayer. And that money he paid, granted him a chance of homecoming. Homecoming is now a thing that we have to negotiate. That we have to negotiate homecoming. How? Like mentioned earlier, the case of Owu is still very, very strange. One day you are gathered for mass. One moment you are seeking peace. Instead, they get bullets, they get different attacks. If you watch the clip, you get to see shoes left under benches, blood here and there, the altar desecrated and all that. The pews were left open and I just look at them. I try to imagine the picture in my head now. Lives were ended in the middle of prayer. Can you think of a better analogy of talking about a failed state? And that people were praying in the mosques in the north, and then they were killed, and many persons thought the most important thing to talk about was the sexual orientation of P2B's son. Someone who is not the president of the country, someone who is not in any way handling any public office at the moment, someone who just wants a better country. All we could direct our attention to was to forget about the killings and start thinking about P2B's son and what the shape of his genital looks like and what it is used for. As though that is the bone of contention here. And again, I don't even understand our obsession with people's private life. It is not as though you're having an academic discussion as to things like, what makes a man or what makes a woman a woman. No. You are talking about the most debasing arguments that adults should never ever think of bringing forward. But no, why not? You are Nigerian now. You ought to do this thing, to feel important and to feel important unnecessarily. The shame is on us, as a people. The shame is on us. And we are just expecting one mythic ship to come from somewhere with some messiahs to come to save us. Until it comes and touches your family, until it comes and touches you. Remember the whole idea of they came for the Jews, they came for this, they came for the poor. I said nothing. I remember Nihil Sundar's version. As long as they don't touch my food, they don't touch my eba, they don't touch my this, they don't touch my pot of this and that, I am fine. Until that boot opens in the natural jeep fashion, and there was nobody to talk anything and say anything because they had come for him. They had come for him. For once, just think about the fact that, schools across the north, across the south, across the east could go threaten in the west and all that. Chibok was not the end. Dapchi was not the end. Dapchi's case was even so annoying that the orders came that the military operative should clear as the terrorists get to drive into town and drive into the country. No. This situation that gained international front were not the only thing. There are other smaller towns and other smaller situations in and about this same region. Smaller schools where the same horror get to happen. Parents now look at different things with fear in their chest and come on. Some withdraw their children even entirely. Some children no longer, go to school at all. How would they go to school? You want them to die. A nation that cannot protect classrooms, has already betrayed its future. Think of farmers in Benue now, in Plateau, in Kaduna, in Kano, in Ondo, with fields that should feed the nation. They stand empty. Planting is a calculation of risks, opportunity cost, scale of preference. Harvest is clouded with fear if you even go and meet anything to harvest. Cattle rearers would have used their cattle to finish everything down there. Tell me what will happen when famine slows, Tell me that hunger will not grow. Because that's the truth. When famine slows, hunger grows. People eat every day. There's nobody who doesn't eat every day. When hunger grows, hunger follows. This is how insecurity multiplies itself. And the cost is also psychological. A late phone call for someone like me now can trigger panic for me. A delayed arrival, it can become a reason for people to begin to think about the worst and imagine the worst of stuff. But also survivors get to carry, invisible scars nobody talk about. Children wake up at night from IDP camps, from nightmares of how their parents were killed. Parents measure every outing, with dread. Why are they going out? Businesses pay too much. They won't even advise me to. Deliveries are delayed, even scattered. Projects are abandoned. Investors get to ask one question: is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it a place I can come and put my money in? Is it a place I can come and put my money in? Is it a place I can come and put my money in? And when the answer is uncertain, money leaves that region, investment leaves that region, jobs leave with it, a lot of other things follow. And then there are required departures. Doctors, teachers, students, families, they leave for greener pastures now. Come on. They leave not only for opportunities abroad, but they also leave simply for safety, just to stay alive. Just to stay alive. Who doesn't want to be alive? Even the person that practices flagellation, and even the person that so much so wants to be with God so soon and so fast, still dreads death. Remember the song? My guy, now your eye go sharpen, because it be like say it don't they happen. No shaking. Nothing they happen. Nobody won't buy. But they won't go heaven. You don't want buy. You don't want to die. How do you want to go to heaven? Like Enoch? Like Abraham? Abraham died. Like Moses? Like Elijah? Or maybe like Jesus? And when these people leave, we experience brain drain in a lot of things. When they leave, a lot of things go down. Brain drain is not only about salaries. It is also about the fear to stay in a particular region. It is about trust that has collapsed, and people leave. This is the real cost of insecurity. It is not only about people dying. It is stolen childhood. Some persons will live in the IDP camps for almost the rest of their lives till they die. Some families will ever remain broken for a very, very long time. Dreams would definitely be abandoned by many persons. And this idea of people shrinking, they shrink into survival mode, and we've said, and every day it continues. This cycle repeats itself. The depths grows heavier, bigger, weightier, and we must call ourselves to action. We must call ourselves to reason, because we must ask ourselves the very, very basic question. Things like, what happens when safety dies? What happens when things like that happen? It's simple. When safety collapses, everything built on it begins to unravel. Security is one thing, and it's also many things. It is a foundation. Without it, everything else cannot stand. The economy stands on it. Investors are not sentimental. They build their sense of this through here. And they go where there's stability. They go where there's a stable exchange rate, there's a stable income and the likes of that. Tell me where a country heads to when trucks are hijacked on highways, where oil pipes are vandalized, where staff cannot move freely. It's not a country, that has no business with growing. It's not a country that should look at its farmers and say, we failed you for the longest period of time. Now let's put an end to this crazy idea of cattle rearing and open grazing. If farmers stay away from their fields and traders get to shut their shops earlier and companies get to relocate, what you have is an insecure nation that cannot prosper economically. It is simple. You come to have a country that cannot survive educationally even. Because how are the children going to learn when classrooms feel like, targets all the time? What about the teachers, and what about them? They cannot be of their best self. They cannot be of their best behavior in an atmosphere of fear. And parents cannot plan long term and plan for the future of their children when they are unsure whether their children would make it home even just for today, or just this month, or just this semester, or just this term. A society that cannot, protect its schools is already sabotaging its future, as we've said earlier. The same is true in religion. Mosques, churches, they are sanctuaries. They are places where people come to lay down their burdens, come to commune with God. But in Nigeria, the worshippers glance at the door, left and right, even as they prayed to a God who is omnipotent and all knowing and all good. Faith thrives on freedom. But when prayer itself is risky, something sacred has been lost. We've lost the sense of secrecy. Culture weakens as well on the other particular hand. How can you even go about having festivals when they are not when they are not fully protected? We don't even have the normal concept of concert. But even the few festivals and stuff we have, they have been cut short. What about wedding festivals? What about funerals? How do they go about doing this? Where do people bury their dead? Abroad, in cemeteries, in town, in Abuja, in Lagos, just to avoid the whole shenanigans that get to happen in villages and in rural areas. Fear robs people not only of safety, as I've said, but of joy. And democracy cannot stand in fear. Why should it stand in fear? Why should we allow insecurity spread? How are we going to have electoral reforms and things done well? Why won't voters shrink? Why will elections shrink? Why would people not do this? Because voters will stay home. Rallies will become thin except those talks. Ballot boxes will definitely be stolen. And elections get to become, contests for survival as well. Not expressions of free choices. You see how these things are wrapping up themselves one way or the other. And the deepest tragedy is not only that, it is the collapse of trust. We don't get to trust ourselves again. Nobody gets to trust their neighbor. Trust in institutions, trust in the state itself. When this trust gets to die, laws mean little. Speeches mean less. Promises mean nothing. Nothing. This is what happens when safety dies. It's not me trying to sound an alarm. It is the slow unraveling of, a national life, a country that cannot stand on fear. It either restores security as its foundation, or it collapses under its own very weight. And to say that Nigeria is not safe is not to surrender to despair. It is to confront reality, to confront our realities with honesty. Silence and denial are the allies of insecurity, and every time leaders downplay, the crisis and downplay the issues, every time citizens are urged to be patient and pray to God while lives are being lost, the problem deepens. It deepens. Naming the truth for me, I think is the first act of resistance. Because for too long, we as Nigerians have been told to adapt, to endure, to treat insecurity as permanent, But safety is not a luxury. It is the baseline of existence. No society can thrive when its people live like fugitives, in their own country for that matter. No government is legitimate to even start with if it cannot secure the lives of its citizens. Not to even talk about the legitimacy of this particular government, the Tinubu administration. And when we say these things, we don't say these things out of spite. We say these things out of the fact that people have lost their lives. People have lost their lives. Too many lives have been lost. And so refusing silence comes to mean that we insist that security comes before politics, that we put campaigns behind. Before speeches about development, we put security in front. It means holding leaders accountable and holding them accountable rightly so. Not for what they promise, but for whether Nigerians, you and me, can move freely on our roads, whether our children can learn without fear, whether families can worship in peace or not worship at all and still be in peace. The demand is very, very simple. Protect life, our government. Protect children in classrooms. Protect farmers in their fields. Protect travelers on the road. Protect worshippers at prayer. Protect communities in their houses. Protect. A nation that cannot do this has failed at its most basic responsibility. Because insecurity is not destiny. That is, even if there's insecurity at the moment, which there is, even at this particular point, it's not our destiny. It is the result of choices. Leaders who put themselves above the people, leaders who don't think deep, shallow leaders, institutions that allow corruption to continue to be peddled in our front, a state that prefers, excuses to courage. What is broken by these choices can be repaired by different choices. It takes a choice to cancel the choice. And until Nigerians, begin to do this, we will continue to live behind walls, behind our cages and our fences, higher than our dreams and our hopes, with gates stronger than the trust we have for each other. But a country cannot survive forever on fear. At some point, the people who ask the right question, I want to believe. And every government dreads that particular time. And if you cannot protect us, why should we believe in you? Questions like this. That question is rising already. I am speaking. People are speaking. And it will not go away. To speak of insecurity is not to give up. Remember this. Don't tell yourself that. Don't buy into that theology. It is to keep alive the demand for something better, something bigger, something brighter. The truth spoken without fear is this. Nigeria is not safe. But to say it loud and aloud is to plant the seed of change. And I am trying and I'm hoping that with my little voice you listen to me and we change. Because what we refuse to name, we cannot hope to overcome. And that is the message. That is it. That is it, my people. That is it. Nothing more to add, nothing less. Remember when Odysseus was asked, "What is your name?" by the one-eyed Cyclops? He said, "My name is Norman." And when Odysseus attempted to kill the Cyclops and blinded the Cyclops, he said, "Norman is killing me. Norman is killing me. Norman is killing me." And who dares come to save somebody nobody is killing? Of course, nobody comes. That is the point. We have to start naming our problems to know what is wrong with us to even start with it. No man is killing me. 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 Security is killing us. Mentioning it is not doing your government a disfavor. It is pointing out the reality of our lives. I am Biringkpa, Mecca. See you next time. This is Boring Conversations. If you stumbled upon this video, if you've watched our clips and our videos and our episodes and you like our content, please do like, comment, share. Share with your mom, share with your father, share with your brothers and sisters, share with your siblings, your friends, your supposed enemies. Share with your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your wives, your children. Share to that your group, that WhatsApp group, that Facebook group. And also you can reach out and tell me who you want to talk to and how we can go about these conversations. I'm very much open to this type of conversations. See you next time.